The Lion King affects people in an emotional way. People say the music is what sets it apart, the mastermind of Hans Zimmer behind it. But I think color does the trick. Colors have a psychological effect on people. They create mood and personality. It wouldn't be the same in black and white. So let's explore that. Can the colors of The Lion King help me build my first African zoo? I've always thought savannah zoos were boring because it's the same environment and colors all over again. How many times can you reinvent the wheel? I'd always jump to browns and dull yellows because that's the only thing that came to mind. Other colors would, I assumed, ruin the African immersion. So I never really made an African zoo because it didn't speak to me. But after watching The Lion King again, I started finicking on this centerpiece, just to play with color. It has nothing to do with color theory yet, but it is a start, because I'm using bright colors I'd never use in this biome. A sunrise of power. The movie starts with an iconic red as an immediate sign of power. With its first animals, the scene turns orange and yellow to show off the energy of what's to come. Anticipation. Then the green takes the focus, and green means safety. A young giraffe with his mother, part of the wildlife, where everyone has a part in the circle of life. The same red energy at the start is shown again when Mufasa shows up, standing out from the sky on Pride Rock. Lions are majestic and powerful, orange and red. This is why Mufasa is so bright. He stands a proud king. We can literally call Simba a bundle of joy. The bundle is, in fact, yellow. He's bright, as his father, and in the height of the scene, with both music and colors climaxing, Simba is shown to the African wildlife who bow in respect, surrounded by hues of green. I think this is why I always see African zoos as happy. While I always associate it with the same color, it does mean joy. Yellow and green are energetic. And that's what I wanted to bring in this first habitat as well. As in the opening scene, I'm also using a lot of browns. And brown simply means nature. It's pretty straightforward, but it's earthy and therefore viewed as comforting as well. Movies like The Hobbit or Little Women use browns a lot too, and both of these movies feel comforting. A hint to this meaning is Simba's mother Sarabi, who is more brownish than Mufasa. She's calmer than him and safe. Brown doesn't stand out. It blends into the crowd, but you still see it, not losing its strength, and a reminder it's always there. Both the habitat and opening scene are meant to show unity and balance in the animal kingdom, and color helps with that. It's powerful and introduces us to the Pride Lands where every animal has its place. It's a reminder we are all connected and our actions have consequences. The whole color scheme of this scene is unified in power and energy with colors we associate with nature. For the animals, this means ensuring they have enough space, a large enough social group, and the enrichment they need. Just like the harmonious balance we are introduced to in the Pride Lands. And when I was little, I always questioned how these animals could live together with lions. And this is one of the many examples why this movie becomes more meaningful when you get older. If you learn about lions, you can see that they have a crucial role in sustaining the ecosystem by balancing out the wildlife, who will overgraze and degrade nature if left unchecked. So to protect the animals doesn't only mean to keep their majestic nature alive, it also means protecting nature itself. It is truly the circle of life. With childhood comes pride. The next scene starts with a bang, when Simba jumps in and colors turn to a strong tone of orange. The heightened saturation shows off the innocence and youthful enthusiasm when Simba's pride shines through. He's fun and games, not yet understanding the weight of what it means to be king. And Zazu acts like the small voice of reason, taking his blue literally as it means loyalty and trust. But it's a voice Simba ignores. We again see yellow shine through, mostly as joy, as the song I Can't Wait to Be King sounds through with power and enthusiasm. But purple and pink start to shine through as well. Details first, but they take a center stage when the song climaxes and more animals are shown. And purple and pink are grandeur, royalty, and mostly luxury. And this is what Simba feels as well. He's the young, soon-to-be king, and he can't wait. I wanted to bring the colorful enthusiasm in this habitat by making it a very colorful, sort of like an oasis. I wanted to up the game and use colors I'd never think of using when building in this biome. So I also picked out the colorful animals that are hippos and flamingos, who are also featured in the movie scene itself. This habitat isn't the calm nature we saw before, but it's really an explosion of all the colors you see in this scene, mostly purples, blues and pinks. I'd say that's fitting for hippos and flamingos as well, seeing as they're literally that shade of color. And because we don't have hornbills in the game, I wanted to bring some kind of dedication to Zazu in another way and decided on a luxurious, colorful restaurant in the back. Zazu is often the victim of some messing around by Simba because he ignores his advice at a young age. Who of us didn't want to be in charge without knowing the responsibilities that came with it, and ignored that same voice of reason in someone when we were just too excited? But you know what? This is probably my favorite habitat because it's just so bright and happy. The moment you enter this area, I think your spirit really lifts, and I hope it reflects the childhood innocence Simba still has in this scene. The looming shadows of ambition. The following scene gets treacherous when Simba and Nala run off to the elephant graveyard. This scene is important because it's the first time Simba steps into real danger. The scene takes a big contrast to the previous ones and drops in both saturation and brightness. And this one is interesting because I always remembered this scene as brown. So when I started editing this video, I realized I have to contradict myself because I previously said brown means safety. But looking closer, this scene isn't brown at all, it's grey. It can look brown because of Simba and Nala, but the scene darkens when the hyenas show up and danger looms. Even when Mufasa and Simba are shown, they're not as bright as usual, having been thrown into danger. The scene is grey, even close to black, and grey is often seen as neutral, as it sparks no emotion. But the use in this scene is depressing and detached. It's a place of death without colors or hope. Building this part of the hyena habitat, I wanted to bring a contrast by using only rocks and adding some skeletal remains. In watching this scene, I'm reminded of the moments when we, just like Simba, try to be braver than we are ready for. Simba wants to be like Mufasa and looks for danger, but he learns an important lesson about the consequences of his actions. He doesn't understand that bravery isn't fearless. It's knowing the risks and when to stay safe. For the hyenas, this habitat is engaging and safe, plenty of space to roam and be themselves. Just like Simba, these animals need the right environment. While this area is depressing, it's a reminder that all animals have their place in the world. Simba in this scene just overstepped his. And moving deeper into the Badlands comes a scene of power and ambition. While green has previously been said to be safe, it can also take up jealousy in certain tones. Especially the eerie and natural tone in Be Prepared. It takes up envy and ambition. The eerie glow explodes in a sudden bright orange when Scar's cunning nature is shown, along with the lurking hyenas. This tone shows energy for what's brooding in Scar's plan. This particular color scheme for two combined scenes teaches us the dangers of unchecked ambition. Scar's Be Prepared is a chilling reminder that not everyone's intentions are pure. We've all encountered people like him, those who seek power at any cost. And the lesson? Well, ambition is good, but without integrity, it leads to destruction. The indoor area of the hyenas mirrors the darkness of both color schemes and contrasts the savanna and oasis. The hyenas need space to reflect their role in the circle of life, not as villains, but as vital parts of the food chain. This combined habitat, how dark it can be or depressing, offers them a shadowy corner in the Pride Lands, where they can hopefully feel at home. A painful reality of life. This particular scene starts out pretty natural, but it's the reason I don't watch this movie as often as I'd like, and why I haven't touched it for years. It starts innocently enough, still showing off some yellows and even greens for a natural environment. But it soon takes a turn towards the grey-browns of the Badlands when danger comes yet again. You can even see Simba lose his color when he realizes what's about to happen, and his usual bright yellow turns to a dark brown. Simba's world is suddenly shattered when the reality hits him, and us, that Mufasa is gone. The scene takes a lonely grey dark brown, close to black, when the mood completely drops in detachment and fear. The canyon houses the wild beasts, but it also represents the darker aspect in life, just like this dark color scheme. This scene is unforgettable, because it touches on something we will all have to deal with eventually. The pain of loss. Emptiness. None of us escape it, in whatever form it will come. It's what will eventually force us to grow up when we're not ready, just like it happened to Simba in this particular scene. He feels immense guilt and grief for what happened, thinking he's the fault of it all, again with depressing grays and brownish tones taking the stage. The brightness of the first two habitats has now completely gone, and these emotions stay with us, just as this event stays with Simba for the rest of his life. In the canyon habitat for the wildebeests, I'm trying to focus on creating space for them that feels open and contained, yet it still reflects the character of chaos, just like the stampede in the scene and the events in our lives. But while it feels very wild, chaotic, and downright brutal, it will eventually pass. Yet again, like at the start of the movie and the zoo, this shows a delicate balance. Just like the emotional balance we crave for after losing something. But we might not always find it, at least not yet. Mother of Christ, I need a break. And we get that in The Power of Friendship. We find solace when Timon and Pumbaa join the cast of colorful animals, which is the perfect timing because it's almost like coming home. The scene starts warm, with yellows and oranges reflecting new energy and finally some positivity. It symbolizes the carefree characters of Timon and Pumbaa and what they call home. After that comfort, we're met with the bright greens of the jungle. This green gives life again. It brings an upbeat tempo back to the movie, kind of like a new hope. No, not that kind of hope. The yellows and browns stay in the form of all the characters, maybe showing off the hope and energy we need. The earthy tones get broken up by the blues of the river and the skies. This scene brings us back to the joy of I can't wait to be king, back to Simba's carefree attitude. But compared to that scene, this one is more natural, more careful with its colors. But towards the end, we can see the colors full blasting again, with Simba feeling more comfortable. This scene brings the comfort of friendship and the idea of letting go of your worries. Timon and Pumbaa teach their new friend Simba to live in the moment and not dwell on the past. They don't even want to hear the past. But while it seems like a humorous scene, it also poses as a lesson about acceptance and finding joy in the simple things. The iconic duo of Timon and Pumbaa takes Simba in, even though he's a potential threat. They show us that friendship knows no bounds. No matter how much of an outcast you might be at your original home, you're welcome here. I try to make the jungle habitats for warthogs and meerkats reflect this carefree and welcoming spirit. But I also wanted to provide a lot of space for the animals, with safety to offer an escape from the dangerous atmosphere of the previous areas. From cozy burrows to open spaces, it's a safe space for the animals, just like this jungle is for Simba. And while it might not be the next scene, there's a smaller sub-scene in the end of the song where Simba remembers Mufasa under the night sky with his friends. While Timon and Pumbaa argue over the existence of stars and what they mean, Simba remembers his father and reflects on what Mufasa once said. We see Simba reflect on this and sigh in nostalgia and sadness. And for this scene, because it's one of those fleeting emotional moments, I created an exhibit night house with the little bugs Timon and Pumbaa like to eat. Under the night sky, it's a place to relax from the explosion of colors from the jungle.
Look at the stars. The great kings of the past look down on us from those stars.
The reality of remembering. We remain under the night sky when Simba encounters Rafiki. The scene opens in a peaceful tone, a deep blue scattered with stars as a calm environment, maybe even sacred. Blue is associated with wisdom and truth, which sets up a perfect color scheme for both Rafiki and this scene. Adding in Rafiki's greyish-white also adds to that sacredness. When Mufasa appears with his thundering voice, the scene takes on the royal purple and energetic yellow. The scene literally starts glowing with energy, and the combination of purple and yellow shows off spirituality, which centers Mufasa as Simba's spiritual guide. Mufasa tells Simba what it really means to remember someone, as Simba has lost himself in it. In this moment, there's a truth that Simba has to learn, that he is the rightful king and has to take up his place in the circle of life. He needs to remember. For this area, I'm going for a butterfly house, to show off the fleeting character of remembrance and the spiritual character of the scene. After that, I wanted to add the habitat of the mandrill to dedicate this to Rafiki, who is my favorite character in the movie. I wanted it to reflect the playfulness of his crazy behavior, but also have a sense of an oasis, with tall trees and sort of an own space to be in. Just like Rafiki is in his own mind a lot. I actually usually never build for any of the monkeys in this game, because the climbing structures will literally drive me insane. If I ever do add monkeys, I just slap down a pre-made one to be done with it. But I didn't want to do my favorite character dirty, so I tried, and I'm actually really proud of making this. In the end, I managed to pull off a food court on the main floor with the mandrill habitat on the top, looking over the zoo, kind of in the same way Rafiki looks over the Pride Lands. While I have many scenes that I love in the movie, I think this sequence of Rafiki and Mufasa appearing has to be my favorite of them all. It pulls at your heart, and there's a growing hope that Simba finally stepped into his own being, accepting who he is and learning who he can become. The explosion of life. In the ultimate climax of the movie, Simba realizes what he learns from Rafiki, or himself. The color palette is intense, maybe the most intense we've seen, as though every phase of it, the colors try to restore the balance. The fiery oranges and reds during the fighting scene and in Simba himself dominate this scene, and they, as they always did, convey immense power and energy. In the character of this scene, and really the entirety of the movie, it symbolizes a return of life. As rain begins to fall, the fiery hues are tempered with deep greens and blues, symbolizing calm and renewal. And then it explodes to the beginning palette, with vibrant greens that represent the life and healing of both Simba and the Pride Lands. The bright sky brings life as well as a sense of safety. Of course, Pride Rock needs to take the center stage here. I always planned this habitat to be right in the middle of the zoo, as the immediate eye-catcher when you enter. From afar, you will see Pride Rock standing powerful in the background. The area is surrounded in lush greens and teeming with lions. No, seriously, you can have 30 lions in a habitat, how crazy is that? And I accidentally made an orange Colosseum. Yeah, that happened. Anyway, Pride Rock stands tall in the center of the zoo, symbolizing leadership and the return of balance. I think it even pulls everything as a whole now. While before the zoo was separated by the habitats, now it's a full circle of bursting life. At the heart of the zoo, Pride Rock now stands tall above everything else. It's not a scenery piece, it's a place of enrichment for the lions and a symbol of completing the circle of life. And in this zoo, I think the position of this habitat mirrors its meaning in the movie. As guests journey through various areas in the zoo, Pride Rock serves as a constant reminder of how it all ends. Oh my god, I'm so glad I'm done. I really stepped out of my comfort zone here, and I can feel that now. Throughout building this zoo, I had a hard case of imposter syndrome, either not knowing what to do for a particular scene, or just straight up hating what I did. But I took a break after each area, allowing myself to get some sleep over it. And after loading in what I did the day before, I learned that I actually had fun. And that's what's most important. I'm not the best builder, I don't have any groundbreaking techniques, but it's not about that for me. This is about nostalgia, doing things we care for. And The Lion King is something I really care for. From the innocence of youth to the weight of responsibility, the comfort of friendship to the pain of loss, this movie teaches us that life is growing, changing, and discovering. It brings laughter, heartbreak, and immense hope. We have Simba, who's playful and excited, who wants to live a life of luxury and just wants to have fun. This contrasts to what Mufasa teaches him: to protect others and honor the circle of life, to take responsibility. When the heartbreaking loss of Mufasa hits, Simba lands in a hole and lives without worry, again going against what Mufasa taught him, because he's stuck and doesn't know who he is. But when the past shows up, Simba learns the lesson of acceptance. Yet again, in revisiting a childhood favorite, I cried like a little pathetic baby. Not only because of the obvious, but because it stays with me throughout life. It's such a powerful story and honestly, in my humble opinion, one of the best animations to date. The opening itself cracks your heart open with a scream for adventure and energy. It's captivating throughout because it shows the importance of having a place, of growing up and finding your true self. It's full of lessons about bravery, friendship and finding yourself and strength. It continues to resonate with me with an immersive world and nature, full of nostalgia and visual artistry that remains ageless. It reminds me of the importance of growth and the courage of facing your past, to embrace yourself and honor the connection to what we have lost. I think this is why The Lion King remains strong. It teaches us that life is a balance of happiness and sadness, and we have to face our fears sometimes. The journey to get there will be difficult, but it's a circle. Simba's bravery, Nala's loyalty, Timon and Pumbaa's friendship, Rafiki's wisdom, even Scar's ambition. All these elements come together in an epic tale of personality. It's okay to feel deeply for the past, but also to find strength in finding yourself. Take on challenges. Be compassionate. And you know what? On the subject of being responsible and compassionate,
oh yes, the past can hurt. But the way I see it, you can either run from it or learn from it. So what are you going to do?